Disney was already ahead of his time with all of that. Fleischer came after.
I'm so glad I asked this question.
Really?
Well, I knew you guys would bring it. I knew you guys would bring the goods. So keep going.
A little bit, yeah. And of course, I might be making some of this up too. You don't
Kevin will
know.
L,
and
the L stands for liar.
I don't have a fact checker here at the Real Hernando.
Right. Okay, yeah.
That's what the internet.
And by the way, when he says
for.
liar, he means the musical instrument,
yeah.
not the fibber kind.
Each day at Wesley Meadows is a new opportunity to serve older adults and reimagine retirement living. It is the heart of their mission that inspires their team to provide the kind of fun atmosphere and care residents would want for themselves. Experience the warm spirit and faith-based difference of Wesley Meadows. Call 662-429-2070 and schedule your visit today. Hello and welcome to The Real Hernando, presented to you by Wesley Meadows Retirement Community and produced by SRP Studios Podcasting. This podcast spotlights organizations, ministries, community leaders, and cartoonists in Hernando and Greater DeSoto County by sharing their stories and what led them to serve the community. Please follow us at therealhernando.com for all channels and social media platforms. I'm your host, Derek. Today, we're spotlighting the Mid-South Cartoonists Association, otherwise known as the MC. No, I got it wrong. See, I told you I'm the mumbler. Okay. I'm the one that keeps it light in here.
No,
it's the MSCA, a nonprofit organization comprised of professional cartoonists, aspiring cartoonists, and cartooning enthusiasts. Whew. Man, that's a tough one for me.
Do it again 5 times real fast.
It is free to join, everyone, and attend events, and it is open to the public, ages 8 to 88. Very specific number there, and older. If someone isn't old enough to drive themselves to the MSCA event, we ask that they have a parent to attend with them.
A guardian. Somebody keep them on a leash.
Someone that's 18. Right. For more information, please visit midsouthcartoonists.org. Joining me today is Jarring Funny podcast host and producer Lynn Workman and MSCA president Kevin L. Williams.
Yes, thank you for the emphasis on the L.
Yeah, well, you gave me the middle initial, so I went with it. So,
well, Kevin Loser Williams just doesn't sound as cool.
Right. So, yeah, and Lucifer's not really kosher.
So. Yeah, as you can tell, not in the Bible Belt. No.
This is going to be a fun one, folks, as you can tell. Yeah. So, welcome, Lynn and Kevin. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. And
Jinx, you owe me a Coke.
All right.
I don't drink Coke.
We grew up saying that. Jinx, you owe me a Coke. So, we spoke for about 16 minutes before we got started, but there's a couple things I want to bring back up that we discussed. So for some context, Mr. Lynn Workman and I you met a long time ago at Area 51 Ice Cream.
Yeah.
Our first published interview was Area 51 Ice Cream, and he was there on the film day.
Literally a fly on the wall.
Yeah, it was.
You're just watching over the counter.
Yeah, everyone's telling me, be quiet. And I was like, this world-renowned podcast was there recording an interview. But and I've thought about you since, because I always knew you had a podcast too. So booking guests and trying to gather some people, I was like, let's get Lynn on. Well, and because of what you do, but also you're a podcaster, and it was really my way for you to finally visit my studio.
That's right, the lair.
But then you brought in Kevin with you, Kevin L.
Yeah, Kevin L.
Williams, the president. So we're going to dig into so much stuff. We got a lot of different things to cover, and I'm going to look to y'all to hit the
hopefully this stuff is a treasure. I don't even know what all we sent now.
I don't either.
A lot.
A lot. Okay,
yes.
We filled out
3
that Google
pages
document.
of notes today.
Yeah.
3 pages. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, let's just start straight up with the MSCA, the Mid-South Cartoonists Association. Again, a nonprofit for cartoonists. You guys pull straws on who wants to start. Give us more details on what this organization is.
Well, it started in 1987. It was just to get some like-minded cartoonist artists together to visit, talk about the industry and everything, and it just branched out from there. Yeah. I think early 2000s, Lynn and I, we've swapped back and forth a few times about who would be president and who would be vice president of the thing, and then finally I got stuck with the job.
Right. How was it?
What is it, 20 years now? 20?
but close.
50.
You've
I don't
been
know.
president
Just a
for
couple.
20 years.
Something
Way
like that.
too
Yeah.
long, yeah.
Massive.
So you don't have any bylaws, I take it.
Well, there are some, but nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
No term limits.
No,
Yeah, because I'm sitting there
term
like, hey,
limits,
do you want to
sperm
be
limits,
president?
whatever. Yeah. Okay,
You want to
I'll
be
do it.
president?
Yeah.
No, I don't want to be president. Well, what about you? No. So who do we want to have be president?
Yeah.
You're doing okay. Yeah, I'll keep it going.
But
There
once
you
we
go.
started, having we brought the website back, so I started taking care of that. And then when COVID hit, that's when I call it, the pandemically inspired podcast, because that's what happened. We couldn't meet in person anymore.
Yeah.
Because we normally meet once a month at Garibaldi's Pizza near the U of M on the first Tuesday of every month, but we couldn't do that anymore. So we. Oh,
Yeah, you're good. Sorry.
All right.
We're doing a little microphone. It's all good. Like I said, we keep this stuff.
Yeah.
So we
I adjusted the microphone for the listeners that didn't see that.
Yeah. I mean, that sound might be a totally different thing later, right?
That's right. Yeah.
I
It's
can't see the
invading
picture.
me.
It's
What
all
is
about
that?
context.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. But we couldn't get together anymore. So we started doing Zoom calls. And we had the guy that started the MSCA, Jack Cassidy. He was on one of those early ones, and so we were talking about the old times, how the club got started, and kind of finding out from the folks that started, because I joined it about probably within the first year or so that it started, but it had already been going for a little while. And when we started doing these Zoom calls, I found out you could record them, and you could do audio, and you could do video, and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, wow, okay. I used to do a podcast with a buddy of mine that I did comics with, and it was called the Rogues Radio Podcast. And I was like, I want to do that again. That had kind of gone. He had taken it a different direction. I was like, I want to do something like that again. So I was talking to Kevin about it, and I started doing the Drawing Funny podcast. Yeah.
So are you on it too? Are you a co-host, Kevin?
Well,
or-
once in a while, I'll pop in with
so
something.
it's
Either a
Lynn
state
and
of
someone
the
else.
It's me, and usually if I'm not doing a solo news type episode,
Right.
letting people know what's going on, I've either gone to an event and recorded some stuff, or I've done some Zoom calls. Because when we all got snowed in here, I did several that week.
Just gotta roll them out. You bank them.
Yeah, everybody. I had
What does it
several
say?
friends that were doing Kickstarters around that time. So I was like, hey, you want to promote your Kickstarter? Come on,
there you
we'll
go.
talk about it.
So you record in person now, or do you still do Zoom?
I prefer to record in person.
Yeah.
Because I can control it more than I can the Zoom and the internet connections.
And it's also more personal.
It is,
right.
Like I've never done a Zoom call for this podcast. I want in studio or someone
Right.
sitting in front of me.
Yeah.
You
I
can't
mean-
replace that conversation.
Yeah, there's times when you have to do it, but I prefer to record in person at events.
I know a good studio.
Okay, cool. Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, and look, COVID was good for my business
Oh, I
because,
bet.
like you just said, a lot of businesses and people were like, "Well, I've either had this hobby idea or the businesses needed to be able to communicate in a different way." And the podcast industry boomed. It's starting to slide down now as society started, going back to normal, if there's ever a normal now. But
Right, whatever normal means.
yeah.
Right?
So remind me how long? No, so the podcast started in 2020. Like,
Yeah, it's like it's fourth season now.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. I've got about 62 episodes. So I don't
Strong.
do it. I don't do it regularly, but I do try to do it at least once a month, just to kind of keep everybody updated in the club, or anybody that's interested in joining, of what's going on and what has gone on, that sort of thing.
So we got all kinds of different gatherings that you all do, and I'm going to the list of some of the specifics that you guys wanted to mention. I'm just gonna pitch them out there in order that you gave me. So you have a monthly dinner gatherings first Tuesday of each month. Talk about that.
Yeah, so Garibaldi's Pizza is 3530 Walker Avenue by University of Memphis. We get together there from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And it's just open to anybody that cares about comics. If you're just an enthusiast and a collector, come on out. If you're a professional or amateur cartoonist or writer, anyone really, that everybody shows up, and we talk tools, we talk the industry, eat a lot of pizza. And
Garibaldi's is delicious too.
oh man, it's
Which
such
one do
good
you go
food.
to again?
It's by University of Memphis.
Oh, I love
off
that
of
one.
Walker and Highland.
I used to live Park and Highland. That was the one I went
Yeah.
to.
Well, actually, so did he. Almost,
Yeah.
We're all
I was
within
at
walking
Southern and
distance of it.
Highland.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a great
I was
spot.
literally on the wrong side of the tracks for a while.
Southern
I did.
Highland,
So, yeah.
we all were. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just next to Orange Mound. But hey,
Right. And, but right on is the innermost part of the outermost edge of Orange Mound.
Yes.
And, so we could hang out and hear gunshots across the way and
Always.
then run and scream and holler.
Always.
But Garibaldi's is on the right side of the
It is on
tracks.
the right side of the tracks, the good side, and it's safe over there and just such good food. And they're so kind to us. They've let us, gosh, I guess we've been over there about 15 years now, maybe, or more. But they're such good hosts and let us make that our base of operations. And so we're thankful for them.
Yeah, they've got the big room on the right that we hang out in. And we've drawn on napkins. We've had people bring in their laptops or their tablets. And
some folks who
show some work they're doing.
Right. Show work, talk ideas. Hey guys, I got this idea, but I'm stuck on this part of it. What do you think? Can you help? And then we help each other out and totally steal the idea. No, we don't do that. But
so it's kind of broad in terms of art. Like it's not just comic books and cartoonists. It's because I know, Lynn, going through your bio, you've done all kinds of great stuff. That's
my wife calls my art schizophrenic.
You got murals, monuments. It's things I want to talk about. I also want to talk about the fact that you worked with Kevin Page.
I did. Yeah.
Yes, but so first Tuesday of every month.
Yeah.
You can just walk in. You get some pizza and hang out. So any artists out there, go check it out.
If you've got
definitely
like a tablet or a laptop you want to show your work on, or if you've got a sketchbook, that's always great.
And there's some folks who don't get a time to actually work on art through the week because of job and then family. This gives them an opportunity to come in and sit down and actually just take out time to draw.
It's a community too.
Yeah.
It's community.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a like-minded community.
Yeah. I used to bring my niece. She was like 14, 15. I'd go pick her up. She was living down in South Haven. I'd take her out there, and she'd just sit there and draw in her sketchbook. And she'd look around. She'd kind of laugh and keep her head down and kept drawing. And one day I was driving her back home, and I'm like, "Are you having fun at these things?" And she goes, "Oh yeah." She goes, "I could sit there and draw, and nobody bothers me," because she had 2 younger siblings at the time.
And you just enriched her life too. Without she didn't even realize probably. Probably increased her passion in it, and now she might be
She's
more
doing
in
art.
depth.
Yeah.
It's great.
And that's what happens exactly that with a lot of people that come out, I think, because they don't have a whole lot of the experience of getting around other artists and cartoonists.
Right.
But when they come there, there's a certain energy that's there that completely inspires you. By the time you leave out, I can go in there feeling like sludge, but I leave out thinking, gosh, I need to go create. Yeah. But we stand around outside talking until 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night.
A room full of creatives. Watch out.
Oh, it's great fun.
But a very supportive nature in creatives too.
And that's what the MSCA started off as, because a lot of the guys were working from home. Back in the 80s, there wasn't the internet like we have it now. And they needed some place to get together and talk to peers. They didn't have the water cooler to hang around and talk about last night's episode of this or that. So it was a chance for them to get together and talk tunes.
Talking tunes.
Yes,
that's another podcast.
It is actually. Yeah.
Glass slippers. What is that?
So we just finished with an art show at Theater Memphis. It happened from June 7th through the 30th. It was running alongside of Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella play. Okay. And so we did an art show called Glass Slippers, and it was just a fairy tale themed art show. Breaking the fourth wall, actually. I expect that there will be a huge audience. But also
timeline. We're recording. We're actually filming this before it happens, and we're trying to talk in past tense.
Back inside the fourth wall. It was well attended. People bought all the art. They loved it, and we are all richer for having
Nice. Let's go.
And so one of the things that I think have been really popular amongst the Mid-South Cartoonists Association is just that we've done a lot of art shows over the years, and it's a chance to showcase the cartoon art that we do, but also the other styles of art that we do, because we have people that do fine art, sculpture, textiles, all of these different things when they bring it in to display it in the art shows. One of our artists, he did a Golden Girls themed Mount Rushmore called Mount Rosemore, and it was a fine art painting of this whole scene with the portraits of the 4 Golden Girls as part of one of the Americana. Murica was the name of the art show, but it ran along with Germantown Community Theater's performance of The Complete History of America Abridged. And so 3 people told that history quick. But one part of it was this fine art painting where then next to it, we had this really cartoon art piece that was pretty funny. Just like that fine art piece was,
but it's more of a gag type.
But it's more of a gag type strip. So it's really neat to be able to see all the different styles, forms, techniques, tools, media, all of that.
Well, my favorite was the one he did the next year for our Spam a Little show, which went along with Spam a Lot.
Yeah,
and it was these 2 swallows. One was a European, one was an African. One was gripping the coconut by the husk. The other had a string that it was carrying. And if you know Monty Python, you get the joke. If you didn't, people were just going, "Oh, well, look at that pretty painting of birds."
Yeah, and
that would have been me.
That artist, by the way, that artist is DeMarco Randall, and he touches anything art, and it's immediate masterpiece. I don't know how he does it, but he does it.
Art is broad. You know, if you go to our Arts Council showroom, it's pottery, it's crochet, it's baskets. And some people argue that's not real art. There's actual members of the Art Council that feel like that's not art. It's only supposed to be painting, and of course we all disagree with that. Art,
a basket's a sculpture.
Yeah,
pottery is sculpture. Yeah. I mean, you can't sit there and say that it's not. You're sculpting this thing out of this other deal. You're building it, so it's definitely art.
I was brought up learning ceramics from both grandparents.
Sure.
That kind of thing. So when I go in there, there's times when I look at it and I go, "Man, I really wish I would have kept up with the ceramic stuff because that looks really awesome."
It's never too late to start, man.
Yeah.
But side note, I grew up in Golden Girls. Loved that show.
Oh, yeah.
And what a cool show. You would think, it's a bunch of old ladies. What kind of show is that? All ages loved it.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
It was, God love Betty White, too.
All right.
Man, she needs her own monument. Funny Pages, a show in conjunction with the run of Annie Jr. at Germantown Community Theater.
Yes, December 2024.
Okay.
Germantown Community Theater out of Forest Hill Irene in Germantown. They're running Annie Jr. It'll be an all-kids cast. The kids that come into that stage are brilliant. I've never been to a performance there that I didn't enjoy anyways. But one of our favorite places to show is in the lobby/gallery. Excuse me. I've been pollinated. But the gallery space for Germantown Community Theater, it's a lot of fun. This case, it's going to be Annie's 100th anniversary.
Wow.
Little Orphan Annie, 100 years old.
No
and
kidding. Wow.
We are going to have an art show up. The Funny Pages is going to be themed, obviously, around the fact that comics were the funny pages in the old newspaper days, right? And so we're also using that title. We're taking it back. We used to have a whole page on the local radio station in Memphis that was called the Funny Pages, where we all published comics and comic book stories.
Yeah, Tim Spencer with the Wake Up Crew contacted me one time and said, "Hey, what do you guys think about doing a Funny Pages part of our website?" And so we had about a dozen different cartoonists that, and it wasn't like changed every day. Sometimes you could have 2 or 3 updates a day. It was just whenever we would get Tim stuff, he would update it. And if you listened real closely in the radio, you could hear like keyboard typing while he was on the air. And he was he was the webmaster for Rock 103. So
okay.
Yeah.
And Funny Pages, yes, it's art, it's drawing, but you also tell them these little stories,
right?
Little jokes, whatever, and then comic books, which I saw you brought a stack in. I definitely want to hit those, but before we move on, and then I lose my train of thought. Oh, I do have an interesting question. I'm going to throw you on the spot because you bring up these original.
You can't put me on the spot, man. I'll make up an answer.
So you talk about those early comic strips, that was, in the papers, and that was like an early form of, entertainment there. Do you know any history on when cartoons started, when it started getting animated,
Gertie the Dinosaur. We're going back to the 20s, I think.
Something like that.
It was not the type where they had
she was kind of a brontosaurus looking.
Right. But they didn't have the NSYNC audio. So it was just music as this dinosaurs walking around, creating havoc, damaging buildings, eating trees, and just what they thought dinosaurs were doing back then. Which, of course, nowadays we know that they were running around damaging buildings and eating trees. But yeah, so Gertie the Dinosaur would be the first, I think, animated piece.
Were they putting that in between movies at the theater? It was like
I think that came out with some of the silent films at the time.
Yeah, because it was part of the intermission,
right? Or before the show, pre-show.
Because they do pre-shows, and they did later. They were doing newsreels and stuff like that.
Because after Gertie, I think our next step would have gone into more of that Disney Fleischer type of
Mickey
animation.
Mouse, right?
Well, actually, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit would have been first. And I think before Oswald, he was actually doing Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, where he was filming a live-action girl interacting with animated backgrounds. And so he was already, Walt Disney was already ahead of his time with all of that. Fleischer came after.
I'm so glad I asked this question.
Really?
Well, I knew you guys would bring it. I knew you guys would bring the goods. So keep going.
A little bit, yeah. And of course, I might be making some of this up too. You don't
Kevin
will know.
L,
and
the L stands for liar.
I don't have a fact checker here at the Real Hernando.
Right. Okay, yeah.
That's what the internet.
And by the way, when he says
for.
liar, he means the musical instrument,
yeah.
not the fibber kind.
5M Services, we're your comfort specialist. We're dedicated to serving residential and commercial clients with money-saving solutions, combining the highest quality parts with our unwavering commitment to delivering exceptional service to give you the top-notch experience you deserve. A 10-year parts and labor warranty is included with every install. Dial 662-560-7331. 5M Services, making your comfort our priority. Visit us on the web at 5mservices.net for more information.
But so yeah, when you start getting into looking at all of that history, there was so much at the beginning where it was all experimental. Really, for that period of time, it was Walt Disney was the first one that did the in-sync audio and animated film with Mickey Mouse, and I think that came out with a lot of people say Steamboat Willie, but the first cartoon he did was the Plane Crazy. Sorry,
yeah.
I had to work through it. It was Plane Crazy, but it didn't show first in theaters. It showed second or third.
Okay,
so that would be Mickey's first cartoon, although Steamboat Willie was the first one shown. So they all say, well, Mickey's birthday was 1928. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah,
no. Yeah.
You're the purist. That's not right.
Get it right. It's Plane Crazy.
That's fascinating. Can we go through the timeline from 1920 to 2024? No, just kidding.
Yeah.
Every cartoon.
And then in 1926.
Don't get him started.
Okay. So next on the list is Drawing Funny Podcast. We already touched on that.
Yeah.
Over 60 episodes you have here, fourth season. If someone dials in, we'll say, into your podcast, what can they expect to hear? What kind of information are you giving out there? I know you say you do like news update kind of things, but when it's a conversation with another artist, what does that sound like?
Well, it's usually, like I said, recently we just did the Memphis Libraries Comic Con up at the Benjamin L. Hooks, and L, I don't know what L stands for on that one, but
it's his middle name.
You were doing a good running gag there.
Was I doing a good?
Yeah, just come up with something. L for lemon.
Call a callback.
Lemon.
So we were there, and I took my Zoom recorder around and interviewed some of our artists that are in our MSCA. But I've done interviews with, I guess one of the most famous people I've done an interview with is John Ostrander. We call him Uncle John, but he is the creator of the current Suicide Squad, the modern Suicide Squad. Okay. He also created many other characters, including Oracle. He and his late wife, Kim Yell, created Oracle, who was Barbara Gordon, as you know, was Batgirl. Well, she got shot and yeah. But anyway, he turned it around and created a new character out of that because nobody was using her. And they're like, can we do this? And then they were like, yeah, sure. DC was like, yeah, whatever. We don't care.
Yeah. So it's interesting to, someone in your industry or your community to hear those things. It's like a behind the scenes look.
And that's one of the things I wanted to do with the podcast was we used to go to so many comic conventions, and I'd either have really cool table neighbors, like John, or we would go out to dinner with people like Len Wein, who was the co-creator of Wolverine, and Marv Wolfman, who created like Blade and was co-creator of Teen Titans and stuff like that. And he, we had a friend of ours when we were in Metropolis at the Superman celebration. We're talking to Marv, and he just, kind of mentions Blade, and our friend goes, wait, you created Blade? And he goes, yeah. And just kept talking.
Nonchalant.
Yeah. And I was like, wait, you created the Teen Titans? Yeah. Oh, okay.
And then you guys start shaking.
Yeah,
oh my God.
His mind was blown, But there were times when I was like, man, I hate that I never recorded some of these conversations we had. And there's so much history that's lost now. That there's a lot of podcasts out there that do the interviews with some of these creators, and especially like some of the older creators that have these stories from back in the beginning of when beginning of Marvel and and DC back in the day. I wanted to do that with some of those, but also with some of our MSCA members, like Jim Palmer, who was one of the first ones. He's when we were the young guys in the group, he was one of the old guys. And now we're the old guys. So he's one of the really old guys.
Oh, he's still around.
Yeah. Still with us.
Him and Jack Chapman, who used to be the DeSoto Times editorial cartoonist. They're still with us and still in.
Are there still cartoons in the DeSoto Times?
I don't know if there is a DeSoto Times anymore. I haven't seen it. It used to, it's a liquor store now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The new liquor store over just around the corner.
Okay.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, that used to be the DeSoto Times. Yeah.
Okay.
It's probably not then.
No, like so. Yeah, but I know Jack he's playing ukulele these days, and he's much happier. But
it's a happy instrument.
Yeah,
Yes.
but I finally got to talk to Jim Palmer, and he's like I said, one of our members, but. He's had some health problems here or there, so he hasn't been able to come to some of the meetings. And when he did, I just happened to have my recorder with me. I'm like, dude, walk outside with me for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, because I wanted to get some of these stories from him. Because he and his wife have been been actors around town. He was in The People versus Larry Flint. He was one of the courtroom reporters. You
cool.
see him over one of the lawyers' things. And his wife was in Black Snake Moan. Mm-hmm. She was at Jolene was one of the dress shop owner whenever Samuel L. Jackson comes in to buy a dress for Christina Ricci. So he's got all these stories. He was Alice Cooper's butler.
This is so random.
Yeah, they filmed a thing for one of the cable shows or something, and it was like what was it? Like some kind of.
This is the first time hearing about the Alice Cooper thing.
This?
Yeah, I think this is fabulous. Yeah, please.
Well, it was like a Discovery or one of those nature channels or something like that. And Alice Cooper would be playing golf, and he would miss a shot, and he'd go, "Rats." Well, that reminds me, and he'd do an intro into the Rats documentary thing they were doing. Well, Jim played his butler. Okay, and it was shot down in Tupelo.
Oh, really?
So there's stuff like this that I wanted to find out about.
Yes.
And so that's kind of what I do with the podcast is just not only showcase new members, but some of our other members like Greg Cravens, who's been a member. He's the one that got me into it, and he was the first artist I ever talked to about getting some art advice because we were at the fair, and my mom says you should talk to that guy over there. He's airbrushing. That's what you want to do. I go, no, Mom. He looks scary. He looks like Charles Manson, and so
even by the time I finally got involved with the association, I steered clear of him because he was scraggly with the beard and everything. Then you meet the guy and you're like, hey,
couldn't be nicer.
Teddy Bear.
Yeah,
but we love us some King of Cartoon up there, Greg Craven.
But he's one of those guys that if you've seen a cartoon around Memphis, it might be his.
Around the Mid-South,
Yeah, because he does a lot of stuff for Memphis Flyer. He did the Shoney Bear comics for a long time. So he's been one of the guys that, like I said, got me into the group. He and A.G. Howard were like couldn't be more open about sharing their knowledge and sharing that with me. And A.G. was another one of those guys that my grandmother was like, you should go talk to him. I was like, no, he looks scary. because he was like half a foot taller than me, had full beard. And I asked him about it, and he goes, "Well, let me tell you, son," and blah 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 blah. And then I found out like I'm a year older than he is. So, but.
All of that to say that the scarier the cartoonist, the nicer they are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And once in a while with the podcast, we deliver a State of the Onion address to let people know what we're doing within the association. Too. So that's
it's
a lot
informational.
of fun.
Yeah,
Right.
keeping your members up to date on things.
Right.
Comic books. Let's talk about what's sitting in front of you, Kevin. So, what did you bring in for us?
This is a great series. Can I get it there? Yeah, there.
Yeah. So
This
there we go.
is a great series of comics
Work
that we've
it,
been
Vanna.
doing, little
Work it.
zines.
What's the title?
So the title is the MSCA Presents
Okay.
The Good, the Bad, and the Sketchy.
Okay.
And this was a little project that we came up with during COVID because we couldn't get together and have the dinner meetings. We could meet on the Zooms, but our one of our members, Del Martin, he introduced Lynn and I to zines, and it became an idea that why don't we do this collaboration amongst all of the members of the association? So then that way we're able to publish something together, keep us working, keep our ideas active during all of this period of time, of course. And the Good, the Bad, and the Sketchy was born of that. Here we've got all 7 issues. Each issue that we do has a different theme. There was one for outer space, magic, animals, wintertime, a Memphis issue.
Ooh, go back to the Memphis issue. You got the Blues Brothers on there, but Blues Barbecue.
Yeah, because we're
Dan
Blues,
Aykroyd and
Barbecue,
John
and Bill
Belushi.
Street. Yeah, and this was by Charles Ettinger, and we've got B.B. King, we've got Memphis Minnie, we've got I can't believe I'm
Handy.
forgetting. No,
What?
the trumpet player from
W.C. Handy.
Oh, Handy. I thought you said Andy.
No.
Yeah,
Just one letter off.
W.D. Andy.
So close.
But yeah, W.C. Handy. Yeah.
But Charles that did that, he's now working on the Dick Tracy comic strip.
Yeah.
He's the penciler for the Dick Tracy, which Little Orphan Annie, they ended the, I think it's like 2014 or 2009. So anyway, several years back, Little Orphan Annie ended on a cliffhanger, and nobody knew what happened. Well, a few years later, her and Daddy Warbucks show up in Dick Tracy, and they finish out the story. And they appear in the strip every now and then.
Yeah.
So Charles said that he's going to send us a piece of art with Dick Tracy and Little
For the
Orphan
Annie
Annie
show.
for the,
And
the Annie show.
That's another thing about these. They go along with the art shows too sometimes. So with Glass Slippers, for example, our zine was themed around fairy tales.
Okay.
And then for the Funny Pages art show, it's going to be just a kitchen sink.
Any type of
Any type of comic strips that we want to do for that one. No particular theme other than Funny Pages. So we can do what we want to do with that
How
one.
can someone get a hold of those comic strips?
At any of the comic book stores in the Mid-South area, we've got Comics Collectibles, 901 Comics, which also, by the way, hosts some drawing events, which I think we'll probably talk about here in a little bit too, maybe. But Comic Seller, and there's a fourth one.
Yeah, there's Comics and Collectibles, both 901 Comics, and then Comic Seller.
Okay, so that was the 4.
Yeah. And then, like I said, any of our events that we do.
And by the way, this set of issues we brought as a gift to you.
Oh, awesome.
Yay, so now you've got something to read while you're in the
Very
toilet.
cool.
And one of the one of the
Nice.
great things
Thank
as you
you.
look through again, you're welcome. One of the great things as you look through again is just the different styles and different techniques and the different storytelling fashions that everybody has.
Yeah.
And that's one of the again, one of the fun parts of the art shows and of the dinner gatherings and any of our gatherings really is just so many styles of people. Each person brings something different.
Yeah, it's a way to
lovely.
get your membership involved with each other and collaborate.
Right, yeah, and-
you guys, collaboration is scattered all throughout art, right? You're collaborating all the time.
Yeah.
So you guys get together and make some actual, comic books. And that's really cool.
Yeah, and then we've done 2 other actual full-size comics anthologies, but like with this one here, Dale had been really interested in doing more zine type stuff because that's kind of what he did or does.
What does zine mean?
It's like short for magazine, like the fanzines and stuff like that. Back before the internet kids, there was a time before the internet existed.
And it was a good time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like a friend of mine used to do a Kiss scene called Kissaholics. And it was news about Kiss, and they had ads in there for Kiss stuff you could buy and whatever. And there was a lot of fanzines, a lot of the sci-fi people, a lot of the monster people would do these things and trade them or sell them. And a lot of like the underground comic type movement type of thing. Well, with these zines, we have them printed, and then we usually have like at one of our dinner meetings now. We now that we can get back together, we do a collation and like stapling thing. It's kind of like an assembly line, you know. And
so
we
you're
actually
hand stapling these things,
putting
together.
them together. And it's really cool because like there's some of us, you know, like me and Kevin, we've had our stuff printed before, but a lot of our younger members have never seen their stuff printed before. And so this is a very inexpensive, cheap way to, you know, have their work seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So they get a chance to say, you know, hey, Ma, look, I'm published.
And you're giving value.
Right. And it gives them the chance to feel, validated, but for their art, because you know, once in a while you'll run into the families where there's not a lot of support behind them doing art. They come out to a group, and you know, maybe the parents are sitting there with them, you know, and all, but it gives that validation with the rest of the family is probably sitting around and saying, you know, what's cartoon? If you're going to do art, go do some art. It's like, yeah, it is art.
But they see a group of people being very passionate about it.
Right.
And you guys aren't a bunch of dummies.
No.
Right. Except for Lynn. But, you know.
I can't too
So
tight.
the parents, it's eye-opening for the parent, isn't it?
Right. It really is, especially when they start to realize that, you know, let's just talk about a comic strip for a second, right? That's how long it takes to read a comic strip. Maybe 2 seconds, 3 seconds, you know. And so when you see that, you don't really think about all of the other stuff that goes into it, the planning of the story, the creation of the story, working
editing.
for hours
the editing
to
of it.
come up with how that ends to make it funny or not. How can you make it to go into the next strip if you're doing a series of strips that way? And then drawing it. You know, I still do things the old-fashioned way. A number 2 pencil to tracing paper. I light box that over Bristol. I do the inking over that, so that way I don't erase over the ink because that lightens it up and blech. But you know, you've got all of that extra work that goes into it. So it's actual art. You're drawing, you're illustrating.
Sure.
You know, and then once you get it into your computer, you're painting it. Sometimes people have good handwriting. I'm not one of those people, and so
Nor am I.
letter it in the computer so people can actually read it. And you know, so it takes hours. I think one comic strip, depending on how many frames and how much detail you're doing, I mean, you could probably spend upwards of 8 hours on something.
Yeah.
Nice. You know, I didn't grow up in comic books, but I did read some Archie. Some Archies. But I loved the Garfield books. And talk about that. So that, I mean, that's years probably to produce a Garfield book, right?
Yeah.
I mean, to get it published and edited and storylines.
And you don't realize how far ahead some of these guys are working. Back when they were doing the newspaper strips, you know, it could be weeks, it could be months ahead that they were working. Just
they have to think very far in advance of things.
And some of the time lease type stuff, you know, it gets dated really quick. You know, like if I did something about a joke that happened today, then, you know, 6 months from now, it may not be as important. So they had to be really on their toes about what the joke was and
that's make it timely.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And then they had one of our members, Sam Ray, who passed away a few years ago. One of the things he taught me was make it as funny as you can. If there's a word that, like, what's funnier, cucumber or kumquat? You know, what's funnier, snake or vipers? You know, just changing one word, you know, can do it, and just editing it down to be the simplest that you can to get the joke across.
I'm a huge stand-up fan. You know, I love stand-up comedy, and you hear these guys, they all have awesome podcasts where they're digging in and getting nerdy about writing and everything, and it's exactly like you said. They punch it up. Less is more. How can you be as impactful as possible? Like you said, one word can go from bombing to full laughter, and you know, killing it, as they call it. You know, murdering.
Yeah, you can bomb the joke, or you can make it explode into laughter.
It's
fun.
wild.
See,
So Lynn,
Yes.
I want to talk about some of the stuff that you gave me for your bio, but then tie in Kevin. The theme of this now is I want to know all the different kinds of arts you do, because from what I read here, Lynn, you do stuff that's outside of comics. I mean, you've done murals, monuments, you do screen printing, designed art. Kevin Page, I saw, he's a musician, so I'm guessing you did some logo work for him? Or?
I did his Stupid in Love CD cover.
There you go. So embellish on some of these things. And I'm very interested in murals. If I'm to pick one out from the bunch, murals, that's fascinating to me.
The first painting I ever did was an 18-foot mural at the South Haven High School.
Cool. Okay.
The year I graduated. The senior class came to me and said, "Hey, we want to do some murals around the school. Can you do that?"
Good for them, because a lot of people poo-poo murals.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Hernando doesn't want them.
Yeah, South Haven was more than happy to have him. They'd already had one in one of the other classrooms, but I was going up the stairs one day, and I looked and I went, "That's a pretty good sized canvas right there." So that's what I did, and I won't go into all the craziness that went into painting it, and because I couldn't find scaffolding. So I was like doing tables and ladders and stuff. It was nuts.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, it was great. And I'm afraid of heights.
Stacking tables, sir?
Yeah, I could say that now.
Man, yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Mr. Barrett probably would have had a heart attack if he would have heard what all I did. But yeah, that was the first mural I did. And then the Olive Branch McDonald's, when they opened up, the lady that got me that job, she'd got me a job at Fitzgerald's. I painted these clouds all around Fitzgerald's, and I'm sure they're long gone by now. But I did that, and the guy that was doing the McDonald's in Olive Branch, he was like, I don't know about murals in here in their kids area. And she goes, I'll tell you what, go down to Fitzgerald's, tell me what you think. He's like, all right. On his way out, he dropped a quarter in one of the slots and hit for like $500. So he called her up and said, yeah, let's do it.
Good omen.
Yeah, let's do it. So I did that. My friend A.G. Howard, who I was talking about earlier, and we painted the ponchos in South Haven before it's no longer here anymore. I think maybe the South Haven mural is the only thing still standing. But yeah, I did that. I did some stuff for the Moose Lodge. I did stuff for the Haunted Web haunted house, the charity haunted house that started off for Ronald McDonald House and then went to youth villages. So yeah.
I wish Hernando would loosen up on that. Like if you go to New Albany, Mississippi, their little downtown has a beautiful mural.
Yeah.
So a lot of these squares have murals.
Laurel, Mississippi.
Yeah.
If you watch the show Hometown.
No, I've not seen that. No.
Well, Ben and Aaron were here at one of the Crystal Balls.
Okay.
They're the hosts of this. It's like I guess it's HGTV. Anyway, but their town, if you ever watch Hometown, murals everywhere.
Yeah.
And they're really nice, super nice.
I think people confuse it with graffiti.
Right, yeah.
Where it's messy or vulgar or just, destructive.
Yeah, because the Metropolis, Illinois, it's more like Smallville than it is Metropolis, but they've started putting murals up around their town, and Paducah, Kentucky, right across the Ohio River from them, does it as well. And it's really cool because it's a neat photo op, and it helps kind of brighten up the city.
You do the wings, right?
Yeah.
Perfect world. Hernando says yes to murals, and the owner of the Social Saint building says yes. Think about that big red wall right there. As you're driving into the square, you get the water tower in there, you get the tiger. There's so much you could do, and I personally think it'd be beautiful. It would add character,
especially
it's telling a story of what Hernando is, like the heart of it, right?
Yeah, especially some of the older like metal buildings and stuff like that may not look because and I know they've got it in like the code.
To jump in real quick, talking about Metropolis and talking about telling the story of the city, the murals around Metropolis pinpoint specific points in their history
Yeah.
as you go through and you read it. So you can go 1, 2, 3, and each one is a giant panel that tells a portion of history.
It's documentation. There's heart in those murals.
Right.
You know,
It really is.
it's real. It's not just say let's throw up a cartoon up there. There's some real meaning behind those.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you know that could be part of the planning commission's deal.
But also I see the other side. They just want to keep it preserved as it is. But you know, I'd love to see them loosen up on that. You know, so am I missing anything? Well, I'll go to you now, Kevin. Outside of what we've been talking about as far as cartoonists and comic books and everything, do you have another discipline, if you will, of art that you're into?
No.
Okay, great.
No, I'm kidding.
Don't you hate that on podcasts? I just go, yes.
Yes, stick figures.
No.
Yes.
Maybe.
No.
Can you teach me how to draw a stick figure? Because I can't even do that.
Oh, yes. I on a flight from Memphis to Santa Rosa, California. I went out to speak at the Schultz Museum one year. That's for Charles Schultz, who created Peanuts and Charlie Brown, Snoopy, and all of that.
They
So that
actually
was a lot
asked
of
us.
fun.
He didn't just show up and start speaking.
Some well-known cartoons and characters.
On the way out, this guy saw me sketching in my sketchbook, and he says, "You know what? I wish I could draw." Well, you can. He goes, "I can't draw a stick figure." Yes, you can. I said, as a matter of fact, tore out a piece of paper and handed him a pencil, and I said, "You're about to draw Charlie Brown." He goes, "Okay, so what do I do?" And I led him through it. He drew Charlie Brown. He said, "This is the first thing I've ever drawn in my entire life." He had never drawn anything in his life. By the time we got through talking and we got to the next airport, which I think was Dallas, he treated me to breakfast there at the airport, and he talked to me about everything. I said, I kind of feel like that was fun. I think I want to draw some more. So,
there you go.
Hey, I've done my job.
The next thing, he had a scholarship to college, and it was crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, nowadays he's got a comic strip syndicated in 70 countries. He is living around the hall. Yeah.
Can I get some residuals
like,
on
hey,
this?
man, hey, throw some bucks my way, bro.
Is it publishing royalties?
Yeah, but I was going to say with your cartooning and your other love, which is puppetry, they kind of one came out of the other, and chicken and the egg type thing. Yeah,
I mean, so my lead character is Muley the Mule, and it's a mule, and but we have the Muleyverse, and one half of it's the cartoon stuff, one half of it is he and his friends are in the puppet world, right? Our world, right? And so they commingle. The puppets advertise for the comics, which advertise for the puppets. Blah blah blah.
Okay.
He's been used as mascot for us on a couple of occasions, depending on the event. He's been the official spokesmule of Ronald McDonald House, as far as I know, still is. But they've had enough turnover; they've forgotten him.
So he never had an official firing.
Right? No official.
So you're a puppeteer, is that what that's called?
Yes.
So.
I'm the weirdest person you'll meet. I'm a cartooning puppeteer who chases ghosts.
Dude, I'm the weird podcast guy. Yeah. I'm a unicorn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, we grow up with Sesame Street. We grow up with Muppets. Oh, I love the Muppets. I mean, that's all puppeteering to the next level, isn't it? So are you hiding behind a table and you got the stick?
Every chance I get. I don't like to be seen, but really, if you're doing the job well, you can be right in front of somebody and they don't see you anymore. They go into that, what is suspension of disbelief?
Yes.
And they move straight from you to that little glorified sock on your hand, and they're not looking at you anymore. You no longer exist. They go straight to this other thing, and they have full-on conversations. When we would do Ronald McDonald House events that were hosted by the Wake Up Crew of Rock 103 back in the day, I would bring out Muley, and one night for a radiothon, I think I walked around with Muley up like this for 7-8 hours, just talking to strangers, talking to people. Had him going out, and he had a bucket in his hand, and he'd go up to people and say, "Hey, give me a donation for the Ronald McDonald House." And they would say, "Well, I've just paid $50 to get in here." He goes, "Yeah, but you didn't give me a donation. Donate."
Yeah, the mule would
they would pull out more money.
Oh, you're talking to Muley here.
Muley's talking to people and just saying, like, "Give me some money for the Ronald McDonald House," and they would fork over more money.
You must have got a lot of weird looks too. Like, this guy? Is he?
Well, and as the night wore on with some of the events, if people got a little tanked, they got into a little bit more roots of like, "Hey, you got a hand up your butt," and he was like, "What's your problem? What what you got in yours. and then he would turn around, and my favorite thing is to watch them like back off real quick when he would say, "You should be ashamed of yourself." His arm ends at the elbow. And they're like, "Oh no! Oh my God! Did I just say that?" And his arm ends at the. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And then they'd kind of wander off, and I'm thinking, you idiot! The arm goes inside the puppet.
Well, and there was a lot of lipstick he had to remove off the mouth of the.
Oh
Muley.
yeah, the ladies.
But I want to brag.
Never loved me.
I want to brag on Kevin for a second, because when we were doing the Ronald McDonald House stuff, he had the puppet, but he also had a full body costume that he would do as Muley too. And there were a couple of times we were there, and like this one kid walked up and like grabbed a hold of his tail and was just like following behind him, you know. And this other girl, when he had the puppet, he came over to her and she started smiling and was touching him and stuff like that. And we saw their mom start to cry, and we're like, "Oh, what did we do? Did we do something wrong?"
Tapped into something. Yeah.
Well, one mother told us her daughter hadn't smiled in a month since she got there.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, one of the St. Jude kids. The other kid hadn't walked in a month since she got there. But they saw Muley and they got up and
went. Yeah. One of my
special,
stories,
for sure.
It is. One of my stories is that a mom came over, and, you know, I had Muley the puppet out talking to all the kids and whatever. And she came over and she said, "Hey, can you see if you can talk to my son? He's sitting over there by himself. His one of his arms, I want to say his right arm, he can't raise it up past his chest. Like, he leaves it right there all the time. He never raises his arm." And I said, "Okay, great. We can tell already about the story where this goes." But I had Muley sit down and go over, talk to everybody, and say, "Okay, hey, point to your belly button." "No, go ahead. Point to your belly buttons, folks. Do it." Right there. And he
this
says,
works great on audio podcasts.
It used to be mini, but now it's push out a little.
Right.
You know?
We just ate at
point to your
Windy City.
chest. He said, "Point to your chest." Kid pointed to his chest. Said, "Where's your shoulder? It's right here. Where's your chin? It's right here. Where's your nose? It's right here."
And now his arm.
Have you got your eye? Yeah. "Where's the top of your head? It's up here." You know, and the way I got him to do that was he had everybody put their other arm behind their back and use just the one arm. And I had him touching the top of his head. And again, it was one of those things where the mom was bawling across the way. And I turned over and I looked and I went, made her cry. And no, I wasn't like
Mission
that
accomplished.
right.
No.
I didn't. No, maybe a little bit. But anyways, so yeah, I mean, we had the opportunity to go out and do those things. But Muley's been on, radio. He's been on TV.
Fox 13,
He's been on stage a lot. We've gone through conventions and festivals.
You do the children's ministry with him at your church?
Oh yeah, we had that going on for a while. Now we've moved everything back to the back, but I am collecting all of the kids' sermons into some publications, comic book size publications, make it easy for everybody to hold. But yeah, he's done that character has done like, not motion picture yet, but we will eventually. Yet.
Well, look, before we wrap up, I want to give an opportunity for you guys to, hit on some things quickly that we may have missed, and then call to action and how people can get involved. But I have a little story to tell. I have the perspective of being inside of a mascot.
Oh God,
I've been a mascot.
We've all got those
General Mills,
stories.
sports.
So I used to work in radio. I worked in radio from 95. I started at 17 and up to 2005 or through 2005 and worked my way up, right? And you start doing little board operating is what it's called. So little AM radio station closet, like we were talking about how some of these radio stations are small. So you're just playing commercials for, national syndicated radio station or shows like Imus in the Morning or, Howard Stern, those types of things. So, and then you work your way up and do all these little odd things. And so I was doing that for a while. And then I go off to college and I come back for a summer. And I'm like, hey, I'd love to pick up some hours. I had a great relationship with them. So I sat down with the station manager for Oldies 100.9 WYNZ. This is up in Portland, Maine, right? It was a big radio group. And I'm sitting across from him. His name's Don Matson. And we're catching up. I was like, what do you got? And he's like, and he just points over my shoulder behind me. He just keeps pointing. And I turn around, and it's this giant orange woolly bully. Sitting big fat belly, cross-eyed, get the horns up, the tentacles or whatever. And I was like, he's like, it pays $10 an hour. I was like, I'll take it.
Yeah.
And for that summer, I was the woolly bully, and I did more than that summer. And I never made anyone cry, but you do get this interesting view because no one can see you. So you get to see this weird reaction to the costume that's blocking you between you and them.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. And it made me a different person. I'm naturally an introvert. I've grown out of that in my older age. But back then, I was very introverted. And here I am in this suit, and I was out and, you know, messing with people and having fun. And it made me more social in this weird way.
Yeah.
You know, so I just thought that'd be, in the spirit of what we're talking about, I know what it's like to be on the inside of that costume.
Really cool. I loved it when it was a thing to do when I was younger, but almost hitting a heat stroke one day during the double inning at a baseball game. Man.
Yeah.
I said, I'm out.
We had the ice girdle that would go around, and it had a little fan up in the head.
Lucky.
That shot up. And you had a little hole,
the air out,
so it was like none of that mattered. The ice pack would melt in like 45 minutes, you know. But we still have a double-A baseball team in Portland, Maine, and they had mascot day and a kickball little thing before the beginning of the ball game. And it was like me and like 7 other mascots playing kickball. And feet were flying off, and it was just funny. And the funniest part about that was in the back green room, and you got all these people walking around headless with their mascot body, everything's on, but without the head on. And it was just like, what am I doing here? This is so funny.
Well, it was so weird because we got to know the guys that were playing River Thing in Sheldon, and we would see them out of costume, and it was kind of like, hey, how's it going? And then I'd see them in costume. I was like, thanks, Sheldon, hey, how's it going? And my wife would just look at me like, you're a 12-year-old.
Yeah,
but
because
I've
no
been
one's
River
watching
Thing
you.
for a little while.
Yeah, you were in Thing for a
I've got
bit.
a broken arm to talk about that one, but
Well, cool. I'm glad I was able to share that with y'all.
Yeah,
I think it's awesome. You know, that's basically like puppetry in itself.
Yeah, it's full body puppetry.
It is. I mean, it really is. You're taking an inanimate object and you're making it come to life. And even though
kids
it's not
running
just a
to me
hand,
like, hey,
yeah, you're animating this whole thing. So that is puppetry in and of itself still. So hey, welcome to the world of puppetry.
That's right. Yes.
If you see, you're talking about radio mascots. If you see a Rock 103 walrus head, that's mine.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, did you make it?
I designed the Rock 103 back when they were doing the 20th anniversary of Rock 103. I was had a t-shirt shop, and we were printing all the Rock 103, K97, Wake Up Crew, 96X stuff. And they had 96X had this really cool mascot that was a chameleon.
Okay.
And so Diane Hampton, who works with Memphis and May, she was the marketing person for Rock 103 at the time. She says, "How are the 96X shirts doing?" I said, "Oh, they're doing great, man. Selling like crazy. How are the Rock 103 shirts doing?" Not as well. And she goes, "What do you think we need?" And I said, "Well, maybe a lizard, you know,
a mascot."
Yeah. And she kind of laughed and says, "What about a walrus?" And I'm like, "Wait, you want to bring the Rockin' Walrus back?" And she's like, "Maybe." Oh. I'm like, "Okay, we can do that."
Yeah. Rockin' Walrus.
Yeah. So I designed the.
I mean, if you think about it, the gecko for Geico.
Yeah.
I mean, these mascots really change things, don't they? It gives an identity, and it's cute. I mean, I get the Geico thing. I get that, but cavemen.
Yeah.
For Geico. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
What was that?
Yeah, I don't know.
But it worked.
Yeah.
It was hilarious, and that's what got the attention.
Yeah.
I've always said I wish I could have been a fly on the wall for that marketing meeting. Oh, yeah. All right, guys. The board of directors is sitting around. What can we do to increase sales? Cavemen. Like, who was that guy that said that?
Yeah.
Well, and he was somebody gutsy.
Yeah.
Because there was absolutely nobody using cavemen. Flintstones were not being used at that time, so why not?
Where did
bring
even
this
come
in.
up with
And they didn't do it just once.
Right. Oh,
Multiple commercials.
It
was a whole thing.
It was its own franchise.
Yeah.
It was like a sitcom chain.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that back to the other question. I do the Mid-South Cartoonists Association. I'm a president of that. Muley Comics, the puppets, edit graphic novel series, Jedi Tales of the Toshigawa and Shinobi Ninja Princess. And what do I do?
Stick figures. We
stick figures, yes.
Yeah, you do art lessons on planes, apparently.
Yeah, art lessons on planes. So I think that's Pretty much, that's everything that I do. So that answers that question.
That's it?
That's it.
Man,
As far as you can remember.
Yeah, as far as I can remember. Now, probably when I get out of here and I'm at the house and I'm in the bathroom, I'm like, oh, wait, I should have said these things that I did.
So expect that phone call.
Yeah.
So how people can get involved? I have word of mouth, obviously.
Yeah.
That's huge in any business.
Right.
Tell artists who are looking for advice. Show up to an event.
Right.
Follow them on social. What are your socials?
It is at Mid-South Cartoonists on
Facebook.
Facebook. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you on
And
Instagram?
we are, but it hasn't been as active as the Facebook. It's just easier to do events and stuff like that.
Yeah, Facebook.
Yeah.
Facebook's still the king, is my opinion,
it is
for that side.
And then, of course, people can come straight to the fabulous website that Lynn works on, which is Mid-South Cartoonists, plural, midsouthcartoonist.org.
Yeah.
And,
or .com.
Or .com, but
Both
.org.
will get you there.
Both will
Yeah.
just send you to the same
Right.
spot. Yeah.
And then, so they'll get you to sing about it. To want to be involved, just follow what our events are. We have them posted both on the Facebook page and on the website. When we do our monthly meetings, we also have you can go through the contact us. I'll add you to the email list and spam you frequently.
Yeah. So the email is midsouthcartoonists@gmail.com.
Right. That's it.
And then you gave me the mailing address. You want to give that out? Because
If you want it. Yeah, the post office
P.O.
box.
Box 770-397, Memphis, Tennessee 38177. So
Yeah.
do you have people like mailing you random pieces of art? Like,
No.
no.
But if somebody needs to send something, that's the place to send it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And you
so
can
it's-
find all that on the contact
Contact us.
page on
Yeah.
the website.
Right.
And along with the Drawing Funny.
And,
Yeah,
and
drawingfunny.com. Check that
Yep.
out. These links will be in the description areas, folks who are
Yes.
watching and listening.
And you want to listen to drawingfunny.com only because it is so much fun. And you get to hear from a lot of people in the industry that way. And it's really inspiring. So for people who are dabbling in it that want to get a little bit further in, jump on there and listen to what Lynn's talking about.
And if it wasn't funny, it would be called Drawing Not So Funny.
Drawing boring.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So is it video based as well?
No, it's all audio, but we are looking at trying to develop a YouTube channel where we'll be doing more video because I do have some video.
I know a guy.
There you go.
Yeah.
And we're wanting to. You got to get the content. You know.
yeah, right,
And it's also, we want to do some how-tos. We want to do some, hey, watch me as I draw this thing.
Visual tutorials.
Exactly.
Oh, that's huge. You guys will do real well with that.
I think so.
promise. Well, I'm going to say publicly, come on up. You too, or whoever you want to do a full episode with, come to the studio free of charge. Come record something.
Awesome. Thank you.
I'll say that publicly.
Appreciate it.
I'm going to hold me to it.
Because you got like the little thing with the sliders and the buttons.
Yeah,
and
I got
you got sound
pretty
effects?
nice stuff here. Oh yeah, we could have thrown our cans on the headphones.
go.
And play all
I've got
kinds
a
of fun
great sound
stuff.
effect machine here. Pull my finger. Oh, okay.
Well, awesome. Thanks for doing this, y'all.
Yeah,
Thanks for having us.
I know we
appreciate
probably
it.
didn't hit everything on the list, but I felt like
Hey, you
that
know
was
what?
a fun
Episode
conversation.
2.
Yeah, it's part 2, 2025. Come on back. So,
But again, like if y'all might want to get in, like if there is a parent out there that does have a child that was like me, that was like, I don't want to talk to them, they're scary, please bring them out.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times it's the parents that are taking the notes that we're giving.
okay.
And once the kid kind of gets used to seeing other people and drawing in public, I'm 57 years old and drawing in public still freaks me out, but I do it. But it's one of those things. Get the parents involved. They don't have to be pushy. But just kind of take some notes and slide the kid a new art book here and there, and bring him out to.
Because
an
you
event.
never know what it will open up for
Exactly.
that kid. You never know. So, well, awesome. Thanks again. We got Lynn Workman, Kevin L. Williams.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us here.
luscious.
And I'm Derek S. Misho. Thanks for listening and watching as you all always do. We do appreciate that. Go to therealhernando.com.
Yes.
Another website. You can find our network links, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We're all over the place. Super hip TikTok.
That's
Yeah, man.
Thank you to our sponsors. You guys make this happen for me and us and my small business. Like, this is a business. The Real Hernando is not a nonprofit. I'm always upfront with that. But this is my small business, SRP Studios. My sponsors are a huge part of what keeps these lights on. And I got really bright ones on. You can see my head is very shiny right now. So again, therealhernando.com, your one-stop shop for everything The Real Hernando. And once again, y'all, thank you for watching and listening. And y'all have a great day.